please remember to leave a like, a comment, share the video about, and if you haven't already, subscribe. Thank you. Well, isn't this just fantastic? Captain's Log, Supplemental. Sometimes it's nice to revisit those that truly tanked their channels and buried any hope of a future. It makes me feel better about my successes on this platform when I look at them. It's also a bit sad, not gonna lie, it's mostly that. So originally the plan here would have been to do a Where Are They Now, but playing all the previous videos I've already done on Iilluminaughtii. But I've already done that. I've released a video with all my previous videos put together. I will link it in the pinned comment if you want to watch a complete context thing, yeah? Covering what had happened, what transpired, some of the fallout, up to a point, basically. Because I stopped with the intention of making a Where Are They Now at the end of the year, and yes, welcome to another edition of Where Are They Now. I doubt we'll ever be doing a video again with Iilluminaughtii unless she actually bothers to properly come out and address all of this that has happened to her that's essentially killed her channel. We're in front of this chalkboard, which is actually a thumbnail template, because I want to use it to make some points. How am I going to do that? Yes, I'm just going to put some images on the screen, but written in chalk. Okay, thank you. The reason why is because what has happened since for Iilluminaughtii is her channel is done. It's truly done. It has fallen from grace in a period of 5 months to such a degree I don't even know why efforts are still made to continue unless it is solely done because contracts with sponsors. The subject matter itself has been changing as well, and that hasn't helped. And I want to go through that just to demonstrate what happens when you F around a bit too much, you get rumbled and you handle it poorly, so then you find out. And this is finding out. As we come into the month of December, and now this is obviously being released in December, you want to be getting the views you used to get. I'd like some of those views. That would be great. So we're going to start with Social Blade. I know many won't like to use it, but it's vital to understanding a point. For those who are unfamiliar with the platform Social Blade, it is a fantastic way of assessing one's successes and failures when it comes to viewership, subscriber count, and growth, and obviously decline. In the case of Iilluminaughtii, she was fairly consistent, averaging between 7 and 9 million views a month, once or twice obviously 14 million, which is phenomenal views. Her views were consistently in the millions for years. We're talking between 2 and 5 million before she then skyrocketed in June of 2022. Her decline happened in April 2023, where her views then went to 2.8 million, 1.1 million, 720,000, 564,000 to 595,000 at time of recording. Her subscriber growth was fairly consistent, but in the space of 6 months, she would go on to lose over 340,000 subscribers. The one thing that keeps her channel afloat isn't so much that her monthly views are going down, it's the rewatchability of older content, which keeps her video views daily over 10,000 a day. But when you go from having 14 million in a month, or averaging between 5 and 9 million a month, from anywhere between 300,000 views a day and 166,000 views a day. So when she at time of recording is averaging between 10,000 and 24,000 views a day, yes, the decline is quite sharp. This is important to notice because this is a punishment that has gone on for quite some time. In the context of what Iilluminaughtii has done since, nothing has been done to change the fortunes. Although it can be surmised a considerable fortune was made prior to this happening. It can also be argued though, a lot of people are out of work if she had people work for her. And she herself will suffer when she tries to claw back, if it is even possible to do so. Currently she has 1.3 million subscribers. That number has not climbed in several months. Because people are ceasing to watch, things like this on Social Blade are a vitally important way of assessing that no one's actually unsubscribing anymore, but also no one is staying to watch, which means her content is also being buried and suppressed. That is a direct consequence of YouTube's algorithm. Typically we say that there's no such thing as negative attention, because any engagement actually benefits us. And of course, when this all kicked off, her views did go up a little, about 800,000. But the moment it all really started, in the space of 1 month, she lost 7 million views, which in the grand scheme of AdSense is a considerable amount of money as well. As it hasn't breached the middle of the year at that point, you could say CPM might have been about 3.5, maybe 4, which could be between $24,000 and $28,000. Based on length of video and ads additionally put into it, of course that goes up a little, but rewatchability plays a key part too, and this doesn't help when you lose all of that. I want to highlight Social Blade as a vital part of assessing, analysing, understanding how one's channel can become beyond economic repair, or a BER, when one handles a situation so poorly. We've seen it happen with Creepshow art in the past. We've seen it this year with Miranda Sings or Colleen Ballinger and the Toxic Gossip Train song. We saw it last year with Death Noodles, who's had to restart his entire career after having an awakening. In the context of Iilluminaughtii, fingers in ears seems to be the tactic one is attempting. So with that, we now need to go and look at the content to understand the Social Blade. On the screen now you see from several months ago when Iilluminaughtii first got exposed, her viewer count, viewership. I had earlier posited that perhaps the reason her views were still reasonable on Social Blade but horrendous in the grand scheme was because of rewatchability. And based on the viewership dropping as the months go by, I do believe there is some credence to that theory. The rewatchability aspect was shot the moment she broke the straw on the camel's back, i.e. going in on Legal Eagle. It just offered an opportunity, and the opportunity did not end well for her. So as the months go by, the viewership goes from a couple 100,000 per video down to 15, and at time of recording, less. And I doubt it's going to climb back up. I do have a piece of advice if she would want to listen. The high horse you currently reside on is getting quite brittle. Rather than persist with this, come out publicly and apologise for all the things you've done. Either rebuild the channel from a foundation of honesty and openness, as opposed to silencing everyone around you, or make a new channel and hope for the best. But as you are known for this Ponzi scheme, pyramid scheme nonsense, I doubt you'll be able to make it in another department. But I did notice every so often you do, within the videos, as your views start to diminish, try and insert something that would perhaps garner additional views for yourself. For example, Trump.
During an election, opponents dig up dirt on one another. That's nothing new. However, it's an entirely different ballgame when a politician calls someone out on their charity. But in 2016, that's exactly what happened.
But it didn't do very well. In fact, it can be argued you're trying to pounce on other topics in other areas to try and segue away from what you are known for, but also to prove that you can still make credible content, which doesn't resonate so well with those that are still here. And again, based on what you had to now what you haven't had views this low on a monthly basis, well, in years. How do you intend to rebuild anything whilst claiming transparency to then silence those who are being transparent? I do want to, before we go through some updates, briefly talk about the optics of the entire situation, because how this can be presented is in and of itself a worthwhile conversation. Optics is defined as, in political context especially, the way in which an event or course of action is perceived by the public. Bad optics usually involves sound bites, or the handling of a situation because the court of public opinion, for example, has determined you to be in the guilt, and you have acted in a way that would not change the mind of those who have already made up their mind, either because you have chosen to be above the plebeian, like in this instance, or because you are seeking a resolution behind closed doors with those involved. Which could also be true. It's unlikely. The court orders to cease and desist, or attempts at cease and desist, would lend credence to the former as opposed to the latter. Because of that, this falls under the bracket of bad optics. There is good optics in this situation. There would have been, had Blaire simply come out and said, this did or did not happen, here are all the receipts. Or, this did or did not happen, I am now going to publicly offer some form of apology and or settlement. But bad optics come into effect fully in this instance, especially because creators, when we get to a certain size, I'm sure I'm guilty of this from time to time, like to believe themselves above the very community that supports them, believe themselves above the entire internet, a fellow community of creators, or you believe you are free of consequence because regardless of what you were accused to have done in the past, you're better than that now. I'm sure in my past I've said some crappy things, and one day I have no doubt someone will call me out for it. I should be clear, I don't actually have any proof to the contrary, so if someone says it, it's fine, I'll just apologise now. But the handling of the situation of trying to cease and desist, or to say, they're all just wrong, believe me, don't resonate, because there are still people that possess skepticism. Not many, but enough of them have enough of a voice that they can then try and convince others to perhaps approach this with a similar level of critical thought. Something which, ironically, considering you apply it to your content, you seem incapable of applying to this situation. The bad optics apply across the board. A friend of mine, SoFame, he made a video years ago talking about optics and how vitally important optics are. Yet some people seem incapable, Blaire in this instance especially, obviously topic of video, of adhering to the concept of optics because they don't think it applies to them. It is a type of pride, one of the 7 deadly sins I believe. I prefer it as arrogance because that's what it often is, and it happens to a lot of creators who do not want to accept that they are as much a part of the system as anyone else and that they are not above their audience or their detractors. We really aren't. Stop it. Once you think you are, you basically live under an umbrella of I am the very avatar of an appeal to authority because I have more subs and more views than you. You see that with smaller creators who get more views and more donations than bigger creators. It means nothing. I wanted to include this because optics bugs me, because in this instance, at no point has Blaire clearly considered it, and acted to rectify the obvious mistake that the evidence shows she has made. So we're now going to move on from this and talk about other parties, since my last video on Blaire, not the complete version, no, the cease and desist and losing sponsorship part. We're going to move on to the part after that and talk about some of the other creators who have some good, and of course what has been going on with Blaire since, so where are they now, I guess. YouTuber Savannah Marie put out a 52-minute video talking about her experiences with Iilluminaughtii. In that was a conversation with Cruel World Happy Mind, who had also made a video titled The Fall of Iilluminaughtii, and it's 2 hours 33 minutes long. An hour and 45 into it, Cruel World Happy Minds gives their own perspective, their own story of interactions with Iilluminaughtii. I want to play a clip though from Savannah Marie's interaction with Cruel World Happy Mind at around 28 minutes in. It's a very important point that should be made concerning how one builds themselves on this platform or any platform, and how it will come back to bite you if you've done it in an unethical manner.
Not like all of her content was dog shit, and it would be unfair to characterize it that way. You know, she has had an impact and created content that has probably helped some people avoid MLM companies.
And it's very consumable.
And that's valuable.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And that's valuable to a certain extent. And
I've always seen like value in her work in that way. But then like we've talked about here, like she has a whole team of people doing this. Like she's not just one person, which like in most cases that wouldn't be an issue. But very clearly there were problems in the way that Blaire has been running things with how she treats her employees, what she expects of her employees, those kind of things. It's like, okay, so it is problematic at least though.
Obligatory copyright related comment, that. This is a good point, and it leads to one other point that I think is very important in this video.
If you could be a good person intrinsically, as much as you ethically project in your videos your moral values, if you could be that intrinsically as well and be a leader and a strong voice within the anti-MLM community, within content communities, that's what I was like almost like hoping and vying for within this phone call. And who honestly she was pretending to be. She was like, I understand your research now. I totally misunderstood, your perspective, but I get it now. I get your research and I can see us being friends in the future. And you really like turned me around. I understand now. And like, I was just feeling on the defense because in the past I've had these bad situations with bad content creators who've attacked me and harassed me for years. But now I understand that the anti-MLM community isn't like that. She gave me a story and I felt like, wow, she can really grow and become this wonderful voice and this wonderful leader.
Some people have a gift with words. In this instance, Blaire is one of those individuals. Other parties we need to talk about. Oz Media. I'm still working on my video, exposing Blaire that is. However, Blaire is taking legal action against me to take my home. I need help with legal costs and will be providing a full and detailed explanation on how I'm even in this position within my video, putting link below to avoid throttling. Included underneath is the GoFundMe, a GoFundMe with a goal originally of $4,000 that raised over $44,000. It was at one point though falsely reported, and proof of that comes from a GoFundMe email that it was suspended because, and this is from the email itself, "It is against our terms to include any personally identifiable information, inflammatory or accusatory language in your fundraiser title, description, images, or updates." It was appealed, obviously, and Oz was successful. On the 16th of September 2023, Oz Media put out a video titled "Let's Talk," an update on the Iilluminaughtii drama. I cannot, in this video, play clips of it. It is quite harrowing. I will though link it in the pinned comment. It's probably going to be the only thing there. You should go check it out, because there is some very important, crucial information that shows just how crappy a person Blaire really is. Someone else we need to mention? Hi, I'm Wonder. At one point there was a weird login from some other part of America, but it could have been anyone, to be honest. They had lost their play button because of Blaire, and courtesy of Society Awards, they were resent a play button, which is fantastic news. They deserve to have that. They, as a creator, have been active for quite some time, and they recently changed up the format of their content and have actually gotten really good views talking about TikTok's, well, darker side. There are plenty of those. We've covered them here ourselves. Joe Robe was a great example of it. Now I guess we need to talk a bit more about where Blaire is, but thankfully I don't have to do this so much. BoBlax has this in one of his Twitter Versus videos concerning DMs from Discord being leaked, showing Blaire being a bit of a crappy human. We have multiple videos of this, so I'll show some of it from each now.
Get a bit of an update of what's going on between him and Iilluminaughtii in this video uploaded by Red Box Comms, where he leaks some Discord DMs from Iilluminaughtii where she says, "The worst part, honestly, is that Oz worked for me, worked with the team, and he knew that doing this would hurt their livelihoods. Like, you want to be a bitter ex that's mad that I moved on and found love? Fine, go to therapy. Doing this to get me back or punishing me for leaving him? It's insane." That's why in my video I didn't say anything in his section. I still cared about him. I didn't realize he was the one masterminding this, and he's mainly doing it because he owes me almost 200k that he took from me. Took home more of my own money than what I made, and he didn't want to pay it back. Someone called Trick responds by saying, "I don't want to pay someone back, so I'm gonna slander them and risk getting sued for defamation." Solid logic. Blaire responds, like, "God damn! We broke up at the end of 2021-ish, and when I finally started to see someone new in January, he broke into my computer and read through my Discord DMs to find messages. He found them, lost his shit, told my employees I cheated, and told them the channel is going to fall apart in a couple months, and to look for new jobs. He plotted this from the start."
In case you haven't worked it out, yes, in this instance, Blaire is a vengeful ex. Imagine my shock. On the 29th of October 2023, Evangelina Skov put out a video titled "Iilluminaughtii New Leaked DMs Are Shocking," because, oh boy, you know the 5 stages of grief? Yeah, somebody is still in denial. Somebody is still being very angry. They've yet to get to the negotiating part, because the channel is pretty much dead. She just hasn't come to accept it yet. And the DMs, man, come on. You've got to stop throwing people under the bus like this. It is not helping you that you internet so badly that those nearest you are just leaking the messages anyway, because you're saying too much reactively in public and it's just biting you on your ass. Here's some relevant clips now.
But in her words, he's just a bitter ex who is masterminding this whole thing. Saying as he even went as far as to tell her employees that she cheated on him and that the channel would be going down soon so that they need to look for new jobs. Essentially saying that he plotted this whole thing, he knew he was going to take down her channel, and so he told them to get new jobs. Now, to continue on with the character assassination of Oz Media by Iilluminaughtii, she also had claimed that he had sent a video of dying hamsters to a Discord member, and did this with the sole intent of upsetting them because he thought it was funny, and he knew that this Discord member loved hamsters. This really did paint him as a bit of a psycho, and then when I was hearing that, I was kind of thinking to myself, wait, well, did he actually do that? That's kind of gross. But as it turns out, he has provided FPS Diesel with the actual clip that he sent, and it's just of a bird. I'm sure you've seen the clip before. It's a bird spinning a hamster wheel with a hamster in it.
When you believe your lies enough that they in your head become reality, and you refuse to accept the reality of what actually transpired, you become so absorbed in this falsehood, a bubble that refuses to burst because you're the one keeping it together. You will, in fact, completely disregard the reality so that you can keep and maintain the falsehood, because it is safer for you, even though it would be vastly simpler to simply say, "Oh, I was wrong." But Vindictive X, Exhibit A, basic. The next part concerns Iilluminaughtii speaking about how wonderful she is, and to demonstrate that, she first of all dunks on her sister and then talks about how wonderful she is at the same time.
can see in these messages a lot of the ways where she tries to let everybody know how great she is and how much she does for other people. One example is there are a lot of conversations of her talking about her sister in quite a lot of detail, which I honestly think is inappropriate. But she goes on and tells the story about how her candle company lost a ton of money in damages because of something her sister did wrong, and then claims that her sister committed insurance fraud by lying to the police or the insurance company about how this fire took place. But she doesn't fire the sister because she's so wonderful. And then she continues talking about the sister in other situations about her relationship and how she's trying to help her sister out, and she's so glad to see her happy because Iilluminaughtii is such a great person. And she also talks about how her channel is struggling financially after all the controversies, and that she is only getting $600 a month. She's only paying herself $600 a month so she can continue to pay people because she is what? So great.
First things first, here's some advice for you. First of all, stop sharing messages about your sister in your private life. You really shouldn't be doing that. You run the risk of, well, criminal charges. Second, fire everyone who works for you. I get the desire to keep them there because you really want to keep that facade going for as long as possible, and you do believe you can turn it around. But the reality is, at this moment you can't. Therefore, you need to do the work yourself and start again, while simultaneously believing your lies enough to keep this wonderland going on for a bit long.
This is groundbreaking, right? You be a good person. She also claims that he was given a budget by her editors to build them a computer for editing. But something was wrong with it, something to do with the motherboard. It wasn't compatible. You don't need the technical details. All you need to know is that it didn't work. And he, in her words, gaslit the editors into thinking it was normal.
I swear the term gaslighting has lost all meaning at this point.
She does not show any concrete proof of this, by the way, so it really is just her word.
Well, imagine my shock.
In these chats, everything's a big quote. Everything's a big moment. Everything's like... Just like look at some of the ways that she phrases things. It's not how people speak naturally, and it just feels like everything in her head is some kind of like Marvel movie, and she's just trying to have her superhero moment.
Yes, oddly enough, there's a name for that.
Ah, smug mode.
But here is the biggest claim that's being made, which is that she's spoken to her lawyers and they say that she has a case for financial and emotional abuse.
Emotional damage!
Oh no. Oh whoa, my fifis have been hurt. I must blame you for it, even though there is no proof that it was your fault, when in fact it was entirely my fault. But it's okay everyone, it's everyone else's fault but my own that I did this and this happened. It was entirely your fault, Blaire, and you know it was. But you're trying to use the legal system to your favour with what funds you have and power, privilege you have over others. It is delusional at this point that you would do something like that, or claim that you have this ability.
She apparently has a Google Drive full of blackmail of people who have wronged her. She used to be a conservative, that she has a conceal carry license for a gun, concerning that she's not a landlord, despite the fact that she wanted to start her own company down. We'll ignore that, I guess. And that she might go into teaching business ethics at a university, which is the funniest thing you could possibly tell me. Miss fired an employee for not meeting a deadline before the day of the deadline is gonna be teaching business ethics.
Well, if her views keep dropping the way they have been, it is highly likely she's going to need an employment at some point in the near future. I actually have a very good suggestion for you, Iilluminaughtii. Please practice the following in a mirror. It will do you the world of good. Would you like fries with that? You won't be making as much as you have done in the past on YouTube, but you'll find you'll be able to apply yourself with night school and get a proper job doing proper things. At best, until you learn to humble, you might be permitted the very technical occupation of removing poop from a horse stable.
But a very interesting point about the drama and the controversy itself is a part in the voice call where she says this.
We were discussing up there about doing like kind of things to do when the channel comes back, the lawsuits are over, you know, all that kind of fun jazz, and how to like really help make like a separation between like me and then like the brand, you know, air quotes, the brand.
So she is saying that when she goes to court and is vindicated by the court, which she believes will happen, which again, you know, if she's right, if she is telling the truth and she has the evidence, then I hope she is vindicated. I haven't seen any evidence to that yet. But she believes that when this happens, her channel's just going to pick back up, the views are going to go up, and the subscribers are going to come back. Does she realize that viewers are real people.
The funny thing is, with the 5 stages of grief in mind, she hasn't really left denial or anger. She's gone nowhere near bargaining, depression, or acceptance. Instead, she is very much in denial of the reality presented to her, because her version of it must be true. But she's provided nothing to all of those people who left. I assume she thinks them just weak people, but because they're real people, she's lost most of her audience. If she was averaging 250,000 views, and is now getting 15,000 views, work it out, it's not a very large number. She now has a retention rate of about 16.6%. This is not good. For a channel her size, she really doesn't want to have that low retention, says the guy who on average has a worse retention rate.
We're all stupid and brain dead.
Well, I didn't need Iilluminaughtii to tell me that. That has been demonstrably proven true over the many years I'm still and have been on this YouTube platform. I said that incorrectly. Anyway, where is Iilluminaughtii now? Fighting court cases and uploading on a regular basis to a channel that has died. It really has. But because she is still in the stage of denial and transitioning to anger but kind of going back to denial, she's getting nowhere. Because she wants to be transparent but simultaneously everything has to be done behind closed doors. Until the court case happens, I have no intention of covering Iilluminaughtii again, unless of course she does something before I upload this, which would be a bit of a kick in the teeth, but you never know. Thank you to everyone that's watched. I will link Vangelina's full video down below, along with Osmedia's. I highly recommend you go check them out. Thank you again. Hope you enjoyed this edition of Where Are They Now? Reminds me a lot of Death Noodles from last year. I wonder if next year Iilluminaughtii's channel will be worse than mine. If she doesn't change, one can certainly hope though, right?